at least once a year, found their paradise subject to a horrible god that brought savage wind and rain, and finally devastation. They called their terrible god Hurricane. In the beginning, 5,000 miles away from Galveston, out in the Atlantic, the surface water of the deeps reached a comfortable temperature of 81 degrees. Way up high, the conditions of the atmosphere allowed the warm air from the great ocean to rise, and it rose, and the trade winds from the east met this moment in time, and the sky and the sea were disturbed. And from this, it was born. Tuesday, September 4, 1900, 4 p.m. Telegraphed message from Washington, D.C. Weather Bureau to Isaac Klein, Galveston, Texas Weather Bureau. Telegram: tropical storm disturbance moving northward over Cuba. 6:30 p.m. On an afternoon hotter than two rats fucking in a wool sock, John McBride, 6 foot 1.5 inches, 220 pounds, ham-handed, built like a wild boar, and of similar disposition, arrived by ferry from mainland Texas to Galveston Island, a 6-gun under his coat and a razor in his shoe. As the ferry docked, McBride set his suitcase down, removed the bowler, took a crisp white handkerchief from inside his coat, wiped the bowler's sweatband with it, used it to mop his forehead, ran it over his thinning black hair, and put his hat back on. An old Chinese guy in San Francisco told him he was losing his hair because he always wore hats, and McBride decided maybe he was right. But now he wore the hats to hide his baldness. At 30, he felt he was too young to lose his hair. The Chinaman had given him a sweet-smelling tonic for his problem at a considerable sum. McBride used it religiously, rubbed it into his scalp. So far, all he could see it had done was shine his bald spot. He ever got back to Frisco, he was going to look that Chinaman up, maybe knock a few knots on his head. As McBride picked up his suitcase and stepped off the ferry with the others, he observed the sky. It appeared green as a pool table cloth. The sun, scarlet as a whore's lips, dipped down from the sky to drink from the gulf. McBride almost expected to see steam rise up from beyond the island. He took in a deep breath of sea air and thought it tasted all right. It made him hungry. That was why he was here. He was hungry. First on the menu was a woman, then a steak, then some rest before the final course, the thing he had come for, a good solid basic nigger whipping. He hired a mule-drawn buggy to take him to a poke house he had been told about by his employers, the fellows who had paid his way from Chicago. According to what they said, there was a redhead there so good and tight she'd make you sing soprano. Way he felt if she was red-headed, female, and ready, he'd be all right and to hell with the song. And if she wasn't tight, he'd tie a board to his ass so he wouldn't fall in. Whatever the result, it was on the sporting club's tab anyway. As the buggy trotted along, McBride took in Galveston. It was a southernish version of New York, with a touch of the tropics. Houses were upraised on stilts, thick support posts actually against the washing of storm waters, and the beach hotel was as magnificent and garish as anything McBride had seen anywhere. It was mauve-colored with bright green eaves, and its great dome was striped garishly in red and white. In McBride's mind, the color scheme brought to mind what he would think the king of all circus clowns would choose for his own home. Out front, a fountain gurgled a steady supply of fresh water in a magnificently wasteful manner. McBride could see a number of men dressed out in their finest coats and top hats, wandering in and out of the hotel. Scandalously unchaperoned women in brightly colored dresses were visible as well. McBride smiled at that. He had heard that nude bathing was popular on the beach at late hours, and from the looks of some of these